Like, subscribe, and drop a comment, because once you step inside this house, there's no turning back. The police cruiser screeched to a halt outside a quiet suburban home just after dawn. Neighbors would later say nothing ever seemed wrong here. Fresh curtains, children's bikes on the lawn, a place that looked lived in, loved in. But that morning, officers stood frozen at the front door, listening to something they couldn't explain. A faint voice, trembling, begging not to be left behind. When the door finally opened, the smell hit first. Stale air, old fear, years of silence trapped in the walls. Inside the house lived a woman everyone knew as a devoted mother. 10 children, church on Sundays, community events. She was the kind of person people trusted without question. But somewhere deep inside that home, behind locked doors and closed blinds, another life had been unfolding in the shadows for more than 20 years. Her name wasn't on the mailbox. She didn't exist in family photos. To the outside world, she was invisible. The woman police found that morning was thin, shaking, and terrified of making eye contact. She stood as if she was waiting for permission to speak. Her clothes were worn, mismatched, and far too small, as though time had stopped for her decades ago. She kept whispering the same sentence over and over. "I didn't do anything wrong." Detectives quickly realized this wasn't a burglary call. This wasn't domestic trouble. This was something darker, something deliberate. As paramedics escorted the woman outside, investigators began searching the house. What they uncovered told a story that made even seasoned officers uneasy. Doors with external locks, rooms without windows, a cleaning schedule taped to the wall like a set of rules, handwritten notes listing chores from dawn until long after midnight. No days off, no pay, no escape. This woman had been brought into the home as a teenager, 16 years old, vulnerable, trusting. She was told she would be cared for, protected, treated like family. Instead, she was turned into labor, a servant, a secret. For over 20 years, she cooked meals she was rarely allowed to eat, cleaned messes she didn't make, raised children who were told never to ask questions. If she disobeyed, punishment followed. If she begged to leave, she was reminded she had nowhere to go. And the most disturbing part wasn't just the cruelty, it was how long it lasted. 20 years. Neighbors waved, teachers visited, social workers came and went, and no one noticed the girl who became a woman behind locked doors. Detectives began piecing together the timeline, phone records, medical neglect, financial trails that suggested someone else had been living off benefits never meant for them. The case grew bigger by the hour, more horrifying with every detail. But then, during a final sweep of the house, an officer noticed something strange. A narrow staircase at the back, partially hidden behind stacked boxes. At the bottom was a door, thicker than the others, reinforced, locked from the outside. When they forced it open, what they found inside rewrote everything they thought they knew about this family and revealed just how far the cruelty really went. The woman stepped down cautiously, her bare feet grazing the cold concrete. She had walked these stairs thousands of times in her life, but never had she imagined anyone would see this space. Stacked crates formed a maze. Old furniture, broken toys, and discarded clothing created a tunnel-like path through shadows that seemed alive. It was her prison, her world, her reality for more than 20 years. Detectives moved slowly, careful not to disturb evidence. They found scribbled messages on the walls, faded from time, rules she had been forced to memorize, punishments she had endured, and dates she was allowed, if allowed at all, to speak. There were marks on the floor where she had been made to kneel, scars and dents in the wooden surfaces from blows inflicted when she refused. Each mark told a story of cruelty, each scratch a testament to survival. Her name had never been written in school records or doctor's charts. No one knew who she was. To the outside world, she had vanished, replaced by the illusion of a normal teenager who simply grew into adulthood. But inside this basement, she had grown under constant surveillance, conditioned to obedience, stripped of freedom,
and left in a life of servitude. Detectives uncovered a box filled with correspondence she had secretly hidden over the years, notes, scraps of paper, and letters she had never mailed. They were pleas for help, confessions of despair, and small acts of rebellion. A pen carved into a stick, a page folded into a paper crane. Her spirit had survived in the smallest of ways, invisible to the family above.
Investigators also discovered evidence of financial manipulation. The woman's benefits, wages from occasional work outside, and even small inheritances had been funneled into the family's accounts. She had labored for decades without compensation, all while someone else claimed her existence. But the most shocking discovery came in a locked drawer beneath a desk. Photographs, not family pictures, but images of her through the years. Teenager, young woman, middle-aged, all taken in secret. Each photograph showed the same silent suffering, the same hollow eyes staring back at a camera she didn't ask to meet. It was proof, undeniable proof of the long-term abuse and the systematic control exercised over her life. As detectives absorbed the scope of the evidence, the question shifted from why to who else knew. How could a family, a community, a network of professionals let this continue for decades without intervention? Even the children of the household, now adults themselves, were forced to confront the reality that the person they had grown up beside had been enslaved in their own home. Just when investigators thought they had unraveled the web of cruelty, a new piece of evidence surfaced. A hidden camera, still functional, pointed directly at the basement. Footage spanning years, hundreds of hours of secret surveillance, captured moments of abuse, coercion, and manipulation that left no doubt about intent. The perpetrator hadn't just controlled her body, they had controlled her world, documenting every movement. But the most horrifying realization hit them all. The camera had a live feed that extended beyond the house. Someone else might have been watching. Someone else might have known. And in that moment, the team realized the nightmare wasn't confined to the basement. It had been alive, unseen, and possibly observed by more than just the captor. When they traced the wires back through the house, what they discovered next made them freeze in disbelief. The wires led them to the attic, a place that from the outside seemed ordinary. A dusty storage space, cobwebs clinging to the rafters, boxes labeled with years long past. But inside, detectives uncovered something no one could have anticipated. A hidden network of monitors, some connected to small screens in the bedrooms, some feeding live footage to an old laptop buried beneath a pile of laundry. The scale of the surveillance was staggering. Every corner of the house had been watched, every moment recorded, every secret cataloged. It was clear now that the woman's life had not only been confined, but meticulously documented. Her captor, the mother of 10, had created a controlled environment where she dictated every second of someone else's existence, and she had a record of it to prove it. It was chilling. The room hummed with the remnants of electricity, a silent testimony to decades of obsession and cruelty. As detectives sifted through the digital evidence, the woman sat quietly nearby, absorbing the reality of what had been revealed. For years, she had survived in isolation, relying on resilience and the faint hope that someday someone would notice her absence. And now, here she was, surrounded by proof of a life stolen and a torment that had persisted beyond imagination. Investigators then turned their attention to the mother. She had maintained a facade of normalcy, community volunteer, devoted mother, pillar of her town. But the truth, laid bare by the screens, photos, and hidden compartments, told a different story. Interviews with neighbors, teachers, and social workers revealed patterns of evasion, manipulation, and intimidation. She had constructed not just a prison, but a narrative that masked her crimes.
The police soon realized that the captor's control extended beyond the walls of her home. Financial records, social security filings, and employment documents indicated that the woman's identity had been systematically erased. Her benefits were claimed by her captor. Her legal existence had been denied. And yet, she had endured. She had survived. Then came the breakthrough that shook the investigation to its core. Among the documents was a notebook bound in black leather, detailing rules, punishments, and timelines of the woman's captivity. But what caught the detectives off guard was a section near the back, a list of names, individuals in the town who had either helped, ignored, or been complicit in the abuse. Friends, relatives, professionals, people who had the opportunity to intervene and failed. The revelation hit like a sledgehammer. This was not just a story of captivity. It was a story of collective blindness, of silent complicity. The crime was larger than anyone had imagined. The network of secrecy, fear, and manipulation had spanned decades. Finally, in a tense confrontation, the mother was brought to the station. Her calm composure cracked under the weight of evidence. She denied nothing, yet justified her actions as discipline, care, and control. She spoke of obedience, loyalty, and family honor, but the horror was unmistakable. For 20 years, she had stolen a life, hidden a woman in plain sight, and convinced herself it was acceptable. The court proceedings were brutal. Testimonies painted a vivid picture of suffering and courage, of endurance in the face of unimaginable cruelty. And as the woman finally reclaimed her identity, society began to grapple with the enormity of the betrayal, both personal and systemic. Even now, years later, the story lingers in the minds of those who followed it. The house was eventually demolished, the cameras destroyed, and the woman began a life that was hers alone. But the memory of the basement, the screens, the walls that had silently watched and recorded every moment remains. They thought the nightmare was over, but sometimes when the wind whistles through an empty home, the whispers of captivity seem to echo still. If you think this story was intense, you're not ready for the next one. Hit subscribe so you don't miss it.